Welcome and thank you so much for joining me today. So we are going to be looking at the cosine, and when we're reading the trigonometric graph, we need to be able to understand how we come up with it. So to start off, we're going to be only focusing on a 1 unit circle and really breaking it down. So I know cosine is looking at A over H, adjacent. So if we're looking at a 1 unit circle, H is just 1, so cosine is equal to the adjacent, which is the x-axis. So cosine is x. So that's the best way for you to think about it when we are graphing today. Now, to get started, I would like you to think about our circle, and that is 360 degrees. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is going 0, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees. If you are using radians, 0, I've got pi, 2 pi, then to get 90 degrees, half a pi is pi over 2, and 270 degrees is 3 pi over 2. So once we've done that, I'm going to put that onto our graph because our period of our circle is 2 pi. So I'm going to break my graph down into 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, and finally 360 degrees. If you remember in the sine video, I talked about the amplitude, and that is always a number before cos. In this case, we've got no number. So just think about, if there's no number, it's 1. Because it's like anything, if we times something by 1, it's always going to be 1. So that means our amplitude is 1, so our graph is going to be 1 and -1 on the y-axis. Now the next thing I would like you to think about is in regards to cosine. Cosine is thinking about the adjacent. Adjacent, remember, is x. So when our graph is 0 degrees, we know x is going to be 1, because that's the outside of our circle. So we know it's going to be 1 here. So I'm going to write cosine 0 degrees is 1. When it gets to 90 degrees, cosine 90 degrees, x is back to 0. When I have cosine 180 degrees, x is over here, but it's -1 this time. When I have cosine 270 degrees, x is right back in the middle at 0. And same when we get back to 2 pi, we know 2 pi is the same as 0, back to the start. So cosine 360 degrees, full circle, is equal to 1. So we can graph that. At 0, we know that cosine 0 is 1. So it starts up here. I know at cosine 90 degrees, we are at 0. At cosine 180 degrees, we are at -1. At cosine 270 degrees, we are at 0. And cosine 360 degrees, we are back to being at 1. And now I can, for my graph, I might change my colour. Going straight down and matching to my points. And the circle keeps going around, so this is going to keep on going around in that cycle. So So there's my graph. Now, if I want to think about what is bigger, so I'm going to write two cosines down. So I've got cosine 40 degrees and cosine 120 degrees. Just remember, we can use a calculator to work this out as well, but I want us to really see it on the graph. So if I look at cosine 40 degrees, that is, if 90 degrees here, 40 degrees is about here. So we're looking roughly about 0.6, 0.7. If, soon as you can see that, we'll get a calculator out and put cosine 40 degrees, 0.76. Okay, let's look at cosine 120 degrees now. So cosine 120 degrees, 90, this is about 120 there. There we go. So that means we're going all the way here. So that's roughly about 0.4. Again, my graph is not accurate, so I'll double check that. But it's negative 0.4. Oh, close. Negative 0.5. Negative 0.5. And we were right, it's in the negative spot. And it's close to 0.5 on my graph. So there you go. We can see straight away that cos 40 degrees is bigger than cos 120 degrees. And that's looking at these values, which we can see by going straight over to the y-axis. Really hope that helps for you to understand a bit more about a cosine graph, but also to be able to read it and compare and see what is bigger. I'll leave it there. If you need any extra help, feel free to message me and I'll make a video just for you.